Thank you so much to the Junior Tucky team, and thanks so much to you guys, because for some of you, this is your last weekend of freedom, okay? Your last week of freedom that's coming up. And I want to commend you guys for actually deciding to be here. Okay, you could have said, hell no, I'm going to sit and watch Netflix and chill. Okay, but you made the choice. And I'm hoping that you're going to see by the end of the 3 days you made the right choice. But that's not going to be up to us as presenters. That's going to be up to you. So I am going to speak about maths, definitely. But I'm also going to be speaking much broader than that because I'm not just a maths teacher. So let me first of all just share with you guys an important thing about where you are physically and emotionally, mentally, and everything. Okay. I want you, please imagine this with me, okay? I want you to imagine that those two things are two balls that you are sitting on. Okay? Yes, really, really. Okay? When you are watching Netflix, when you are watching YouTube, you sit kind of on the back of the balls and you're like, okay, I'm chilling, just watching. I want you to think about rolling the balls back and sitting on the front of the balls. That's the right posture. This next 3 days, the moment you start sitting back and the eyes start, I want you to imagine you're sitting on those balls and you're rolling them back. You're sitting on the front of them. Because whatever's going to happen in the next 3 days could make a major difference in the rest of your life. And I want you guys, you ladies, to think that you are not here just to pass matric. You are not here to get into university. 60 to 70% of university students fail. You've got to understand that. That meant all of the sacrifices they made to get in there means nothing. Why is that? And I'm going to share a little bit about that with you guys. You've got to start thinking the exam you're going to write in the next 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, that's not your end goal. Getting into a good university is not your end goal. Getting the degree is not your end goal. It's what you do after that, that's your end goal. So you've got to start thinking every single day is a step towards that end goal. And let me quickly just highlight something to you. Getting a degree does not mean getting a job. 40+% of graduates are unemployed. That's statistics in South Africa. 40+% that went through all the sacrifices, finished their degrees, are unemployed. They can't find a job. Am I trying to get you down? No. I'm trying to say to you, you've got to start thinking, what am I going to do in the next 3 to 4 years to make sure that I'm part of the 60% that is going to get me a job? That's where your mind has to start going. And yes, part of it is the next 4 to 8 weeks of your life. It's a big part of it, as Mr. Riranzu said. It's a big part of it. The next 4 to 8 weeks, everything you've done, let me again put some extra pressure on you. The last 11 and a half years of your life, 11 and 3/4 years of your life, has only counted 25%. the next 8 weeks is going to count at least 75%. That's your final exam. No pressure. But guys, these are realities that you've got to think about. You cannot put your head in the sand and go, oh, I'm just going to go and write the exam and hope and pray for the best. Okay? You've got to start thinking, what am I doing today to make tomorrow better? To make 6 months from now better? To make my future better? You've got to start thinking that. You have to for your own sake, because now you are ending your parents' decisions on your life. Your parents decided, most of you, where you go to school, primary or before school, primary, high school. From here on, you are building your future. And one day you are going to have to look back and go, yes. Or you're going to go, I should have. Why didn't I? So what I want us to have a look at, ladies and gentlemen, is I am going to, yes, do mathematics, and part of it is much bigger than just mathematics. I want to teach you guys some soft skills that I have seen reap a lot of rewards. And I wish these things were taught to me when I was your age. I had to find it out the very hard way by almost not finishing my degree. The university literally sent me a letter and said, this is your last chance. Don't pass this subject, and the previous 7 years have meant nothing. Literally. So I had to go and finish. So the first thing that I want us to start thinking about is you are writing a very important exam. So you have to approach this exam very, very carefully. So pick up your pen and let's start making notes. So I'm going to first of all talk a little bit about a guy called George Polya. P-O-L-Y-A. If you are a mathematics teacher, or if you are a mathematics lover, if you love maths, you love problem solving, there's a little book from George Polya. I'll write it on the board later. Now, there we go. Now, George Polya, he wrote a whole book, a thin book. You don't get it in print anymore, but you can get it electronically for free if you know how to Google. Okay? And the next 8 weeks, you are going to have to make sure that you are covered with how to solve problems. And tomorrow we are going to do some more and more digging into this whole topic. But today we're just going to talk about problem solving together with one of the worst taught subjects in your whole schooling career, which is probability. Let's just be honest, you guys suck at probability. Okay? Every year when I mark probabilities in the prelims, oh my goodness, it's horrible. I don't blame you guys necessarily, okay? Because I sometimes blame the teachers, but I'm not always at liberty to say that out loud. Okay. So when we talk about problem solving, this is not a mathematical thing, #just saying. This, if you are going to learn to solve problems using these 3 steps, we're going to do a practical step tomorrow, then you have a much better chance of solving whatever problem you have. So, step 1 is, what is written there on the left? Digging. Oh, ladies, you are fantastic at digging. Especially when it comes to someone else's business. Oh, sir. I'm getting touched here. Well, if you're getting touched, it might mean that, it's maybe true then. Because if you were not getting touched by it, you're like us men go, nah, we're not. Although male gossipers are just as bad. But ladies and gentlemen, digging is arguably one of the most underrated processes, but South Africans are very, very good at it. Our president is amazing at it. You've heard all of the commissions that has been set up the past 5 years, 10 years. There's a commission for this, a commission for that. All they are doing is digging. They're trying to find out why is this happening? Where is it coming from? Those of you that are looking to do chartered accountants, any of you in here, chartered accountants, you guys are going to do phenomenal with digging. Okay? When you go into a business, like I think 10 years ago, there was 8 years ago, Marcus Jooste, very, very famous South African businessman, they realized there's a problem in his business. Money is going missing. They send in what they call forensic auditors. It took them, not lying, 6 or 7 years to find out how the hell this guy was doing it. Because he was doing it in such a phenomenally devious way that I think they ended up having 3 forensic auditing firms to try and find out what's going on. Because he did it all with lawyers and with loops in the laws and blah, 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 blah. So digging, looking at the information, is very, very important. When it comes to your questions, this is the part that unfortunately you guys underestimate, especially in paper 2. Because you guys just want to skip this, and just go for it. Okay, let's just skim over everything. Okay, a tangent. Okay, this. Okay, that. Oh, cyclic quad. No, that's all right. Let me just look at how we answer the question. Yeah. And then when you when you get to the teacher and you're like, I can't do this, and then like, did you remember this? And you're like, oh. But ladies and gentlemen, we get to the second part that we are going to focus a lot on in these 2 days. Making connections. This is the part that's most often overlooked in your exams. You guys love to use highlighters when you answer questions. You're good with digging. Highlight, this is an important word. That is an important word. This. And then you're like, okay, let me solve the problem. Please, don't skip this part. Making connections backwards and forwards. What do I mean? Making connections backwards means if I look at the information that I have, what mathematical formulas, theorems applies to these words? Now, the scary thing is, and I said this earlier, 60+%, 70% of people fail first year varsity, and a lot of them it's because of maths. Not proud of it, but that's the truth. Why? Because you guys don't study maths. But so how do I study maths? If I tell you, I give you an exponential equation, can you give me all the 5 steps to solve an exponential equation off the top of your head? Can you? Yes or no? Be honest. No. That's the problem. If I tell you a tangent, can you give me everything you need to think about when it comes to a tangent? Tan radius, tangents from a point, tan chord. Okay. Derivative at a point. Because that's a tangent. I didn't say a tangent to a circle. Yes? It touches the curve once. And what does that mean? Woo! What does it mean? Let me share with you how awesome I am. But okay, let me first find out. Yes, you've got a friend in need here, yes.
The gradient of that tangent at that point is zero. Of that function where the tangent passes.
Okay, be careful of saying the tangent is zero. Tangent is zero at a stationary point, not at a tangent.
The gradient of the graph.
Yes, is?
Where the tangent passes.
Is what? No, that's a test. Be careful now, you are mixing up tangents and stationary points. Ladies and gentlemen, the more connections you can make, I'm pointing just at you, why? If this is now the kind of thing you need to start thinking about is how many connections can I make? Whenever I think about tangents, two graphs cutting each other once, which means if there is a quadratic equation, the discriminant must be equal to 0. Because if the discriminant is 0, there's only one solution. Ooh, so I didn't think about that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the more connections you can make, the better it is. I asked a friend of mine who's now a phenomenal pediatric surgeon. And I asked him, what's the difference between a guy that gets 60% studying, a doctor, and the guy getting 80? The guy said, simple. The guy who gets 60%, when he looks at the symptoms, he can give me 3 possible diseases. A guy that gets 80 can name 5. The more knowledge you have, the more connections you can make. But the important thing is not just the knowledge, it is how organized your knowledge is. So when I hear quadratic equations, there's so many things I think about. Think about quadratic patterns, which is a parabola but with discrete values. If I think about a parabola, I can think about turning points. I can think about discriminants. All of those things are so interconnected. I can think about calculus. So you have to make sure this next 2 months that you get your knowledge in order, because next year, when you go and become an engineer, or is there any of you that's going to study AXI? Any of you that's going to study AXI, actuarial sciences? Hey, guys. The first semester, you're going to do the same amount of maths you did in grade 11 and 12 in 4 months' time. I'm not lying to you. That's why it's considered the most difficult course at varsity. But the thing is, you need to go and sit on your bum and study. Not for matric, for when you get to varsity and everything becomes more complicated. So, then we get to a very important part. Go for it. Okay? What's the reason why South Africa is in such big problems? We are phenomenal here. We are relatively okay here, our political systems. We suck here, okay? Even after all of the commissions, and at the commission, they'll tell them, to solve the problem, you have to do this, 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 this. And 5 years later, we still didn't do this, 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 and this. Ladies, just 1 minute. You are very good at solving problems here. Gentlemen, you are very good at solving problems here. The secret to a happy marriage is finding your way here. Okay? Now, so what I want you guys to do, when you are working through, when we are going to work through these things, I don't want you to go on autopilot. Don't want you to just look at these problems and go, oh, so I've done this like 1,000,000 times, okay? So I get 98% for maths. I'm happy for you. There's 2% that's still there, okay? But so I get 100%, okay. You haven't passed university yet. One of the biggest things you've got to think about, and please hear me out, this is now a life lesson, an allo lesson, not a maths lesson, an allo lesson. 1 minute. A lot of success in life is about having the right posture at the right times. When you're sitting here, you can be a know-it-all and go, oh, so I get 98% for maths, what ifs? Or you can go and say, you know what, I've got something to learn from this white guy, okay? This Afrikanerkie can maybe teach me something. Because I've seen a lot. I haven't seen it all. The older I get, the less I know. You'll get that when you're my age, you'll understand it. The less you know. Because the older that you get, the bigger you realize the world is. When you're your age, you're like, I know everything. You get to Vars, you're like, I didn't know everything. Okay, so please, get your posture right. I'm here to learn. Even if it's one little thing that's going to make me a better human being, that's going to help me achieve success, sit forward on those balls, lean forward, and let's dig in. Okay, so let's quickly just look at the first question you've got to ask. Okay, don't worry about taking all of this notes down. You are going to receive this thing tomorrow. Okay? What has been given? That's part of your digging and the first half of making connections. What key words are there? Like I love, what makes me a fantastic maths teacher? Why I'll get 95% for a maths paper without studying. Now, I'm not low-key bragging. I'm just saying it's the truth because I've been doing it for so long, is I start by looking at key words. Like I see the word tangent, and I think, okay, what connects to tangent? You told me 3 things. Then I went, okay, but what about calculus? What about m1 times m2 equal to -1? I see a 90 degrees, Pythagoras, SOHCAHTOA, cyclic quads. I make connections in the whole time. I think about theorems, formulas, properties, connections to other chapters. This is going to be one of your biggest challenges in writing your matric exam. I'm going to show you some questions today where we are going to take, is there any of you that's going to write IEB finals? Section B. They love to throw in the weirdest questions connecting. Last year, I think it was it last year when they did a parabola mixed with probabilities? Yeah, it was such an easy question, but it completely freaked the guys out. Please again understand, is my focus now? Where's my focus next year and after that? The university professors don't care about how you can make connections. They'll throw everything together. Why? Because they can. So, here we get to the last little point, and this is a very important strategy. Elimination. If I think about quadratic equations, I only then think about certain things. I don't look at my whole textbook. I only focus on certain things. I spoke to a professor at the University of Stellenbosch, and she said this is one of the biggest issues in first year, because all of a sudden you've got a 1,100-page textbook. And if you try to go through every chapter, every sum, how quickly are you going to give up? So you've got to learn to eliminate what is not relevant. Then we get to the second question. What is the question really asking me? I find it hilarious. How many kids, when I mark exams, do not actually finish the sum? Describe the correlation coefficient. R is equal to 0.85. One out of two. Did it say what is the correlation coefficient, or did it say describe? Describe. Did you answer the question? No. Ladies and gentlemen, a very important thing, real life thing. If you are going to ever work in your job with people, and all of you are, this is one of your biggest, if you can learn to do this, it's going to mean success for you. What is the real problem that's behind what you are seeing? Because people act angry, they act frustrated, and if you are just going to react on that, you're not going to have success. There's things that's happening behind it. Why are they angry? And then you get to the real problem. Now, what is my RTP? In other words, if I can say my problem is the monkey, that's what I really want to solve. What mountains stand in my way to get there? What do I need to do to actually prove the question? That's going to be like a compass for you going forward. It's going to give you direction. So you have to start thinking, not just where do I want to go, how am I going to get there? Then we get to the third question. How can I actually answer the question? Now here we get to something very important. If you are aiming for 80% and above, every single sum you do, you have to find 2 methods to do it. Because I promise you, you're not going to see that exact problem in the exam. You don't know what's coming in the exam. So challenge yourself to always find at least 2 different ways of doing a sum, even if it is something simple like just solving x. I can do it this way or that way. Now, please look at the last 2. Mark allocation. This is one of the things that I hate when I give extra classes. I get kids writing 3 pages long and it's a 5-mark question. Or it's a 2-mark question and you start writing like 3/4 of a page full. Now you've got to start thinking, am I doing this right? For those of you that are interested in psychology, that's called metacognition. Have you guys ever heard about that term? Metacognition. To think about your thinking. It sounds stupid, but yes. Is my thinking right or wrong? As an adult, that's one of the biggest things that you're going to ever learn, Siamo. One of the biggest lessons you're ever going to learn. Is my thinking right or wrong? Now here comes a bit of a drop for you guys, a very important thing. You've got to start thinking, where I am now, the way I'm doing things every single day, is it taking me closer to my ideal success? Or is it slowly taking me away from it? Am I really giving everything? Or am I just actually going through the motions and hoping and praying that I'm going to get somewhere? You are going to get somewhere, but not necessarily where you want to go. So, what we are going to do now, because I'm done talking for now, is I'm going to ask the Junior Tux guys to hand out for you guys a pack of probability questions. So, what I would love you guys to do is, again, be careful. This is not just another, okay, so let's go through the motions. Start digging. Make connections. If I read a word, what does it mean? You still have time if you don't know something. Although time is running out very, very quickly. So, here are on this page is all the different types of questions that you are going to have to be able to do. If there's something on there, you guys are going to get this, so you don't have to copy everything. But if there is something that stands out for you that you are unsure of, make a note of it. Please don't hope and pray that you're going to get through to the end, okay? I don't want to work with hope and pray, okay? Hope and prayer is good. Hope and prayer is good. But not if you're preparing for your final exam. You've got to do your part first. So what we are going to have a look at, and you'll see, I divided this into two sections. You are going to get one or two questions that is going to be covering these things. Your types of sums, tree diagrams, contingency tables, Venn diagrams. Got to be able to do all three. What topics must you look out for? Independence, mutual exclusivity, and then those lovely probability of A or B questions. That's grade 11 stuff. You're going to get one, maybe two questions about it, and then you are going to get grade 12, where you are going to work with identical objects and unique objects with fundamental counting principles. And those you guys, oh, life becomes interesting. So what we are going to do, that everyone gets a pack, okay? Even colorful, wow, it looks nice. Okay, so what I would like you guys to do for me is turn to that exam questions. We are going to have a look specifically. I'm going to pick certain of them. There we go. This question 10.1 about the group of people. I am going to give you guys, okay? I'm going to give you guys, let's make it 10 minutes to do this sum for me. Okay, so let's have a look at question 10. Let's have a look at question 10. Let's first of all ask ourselves, okay? And I'm asking you to just hit the pause button on your writing. If you don't like to listen to me, that's also all right. Which of the probability tools we've got in our toolbox are we going to use? We've got contingency tables. We have Venn diagrams. We've got tree diagrams. Which one am I going to use? Why? And please don't be Captain Obvious because they told me so. Yes, they told you so, but if you look at question 12.2, they do not tell you so in 12.2, and that comes out of an actual exam. So how do I know that I've got to use tree diagrams in this case? Somebody please give me an answer. Come on, grade 12s, come on. Yes, my gent, yeah. Okay, there's more than one event, but I could use a Venn diagram for more than one event as well. Okay, actually I could use a contingency table as well. Yes. So would you like to elaborate on your answer? Say again?
When it comes to outcomes, there's more than one outcome. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can. You can say whatever you want to. Okay? I don't necessarily believe in the whole movement of your truth and my truth and those kind of things, but you can say whatever you want to. Yes?
I think it's probably because the events are complementary.
Events are complementary. I've always loved that English word because it always feels like the one event makes the other event feel good, you know? Give you a compliment. Yeah. You're getting closer, but that's not exactly because we can get complementary events with Venn diagrams as well. For those of you that don't know, what the heck is complementary events? Yes, sir.
Because the events are essentially dependent on each other.
Okay, you are getting so close. But be careful of that word. The university professors next year, if you use the word depend, they're going to be like, whoa, 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 be careful. Okay? The word dependency is a very it's one of those, it's kind of like in America, the N word, you know, it's like, no, let's rather stay away from it, okay? Because it means a big thing in mathematical circles. Okay, even in independence, we can use tree diagrams. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm challenging you to start getting your act together. Because in the exam, like in 12.2, you don't know. You can go and do a Hail Mary and go, let me hope and pray, but don't go with your exam with that attitude, okay? How do I know a tree diagram? Let's think about, when do I use a Venn diagram? When do I use a contingency table? So let's quickly talk about a Venn diagram. And you guys were all like dancing around the fire, okay? You were all like dancing around the solution to my question. But none of you got there. When we talk about a Venn diagram, when do I use a Venn diagram? Okay, sorry, I don't want to do that, okay. There we go. No, this thing is now broken. Okay. Let me quickly enter that thing again. Fortunately, technology will work for me and not the other way around. There we go. If we talk about a Venn diagram, when do I use a Venn diagram? Come on, you guys have been doing it for 3 years now. Since grade 10, some of you grade 9. When do I use a Venn diagram? Have you ever thought about that? Guys, you have to start thinking about these things. Because again, next year when you sit in front of that professor and he asks you, why are you doing it? And you go, he's then going to tell you, you're not allowed to do it. Really, really, we were in second year studying AXI, where your average number of distinctions ranged between 5 and 16 distinctions in matric. Yeah, 16, I'm not making this up. And the professor looks at our second years and goes, why are you applying that formula? And we go, The teacher always told us. And then he goes, but then you can't use it, find another way. When you go and do your PhD and they go, why did you take this approach and not that approach? You can't go, I woke up in the morning and I had an epiphany. I didn't feel like it, okay? Then the professor's going to be like, I didn't feel like this thing. A Venn diagram, ladies and gentlemen, is when you have got different options for the population to choose from. Can you use a Venn diagram? Someone could do maths, they could do physical sciences, they could do accounting. Now, when do we use a contingency table? Do you guys even know what the hell a contingency table is? And then 4 weeks from now it comes up in the exam and you're like, oopsie. A contingency table, ladies and gentlemen, is a table that kind of looks like this, where they go, well, we've got male, we've got female, and then we've got basketball, and we've got tennis, and then, I know that one. It's called a contingency table, okay? I didn't know that. Well, now you do. So glad you're learning that before the matric finals. Okay? When do we use a contingency table? So you look like a clever cookie. No. You wouldn't be sitting here if you're not a clever cookie. Contingency table, when do we use it?
Group data, maybe.
Group data, kind of be careful, we're not in statistics now. Although it really sucks that we can't do statistics and probability together because it's actually the same thing. Hashtag just saying. Yes, sir.
Two options, events that are complementary.
Okay, we're going back to the complementary, right? Okay. I love what you're thinking about. Contingency tables are to check whether events are independent or not. You know it, right? You're this clever lady here in the front, okay? It is to check whether events are independent. In other words, if I pick a random person in that school, will the sport they play depend on whether they're male or female? Will it not? So contingency tables is mainly used for what? Checking independence. Now, for you guys, independence is just like a kind of thing. In the real world, it's a big thing because we want to know if my choice of something will affect what's going to happen. Any of you want to go and get your red academic gown one day? Do you guys even know what that is? What is the red gown? PhD. A lot of your PhD is going to be based on choices and the effects of those choices. In other words, independence or not. In other words, if I do this, what is going to happen? Or doesn't it matter? I know a lot of you are striving for independence from your parents. Some of you are like, no, some of you are like, can't wait. You will never be independent from your parents. Because if your parent decide to date a person your age, well, then you're not independent. Because independence means the decision, the one event has got no effect on the other event. Your parents, you'll never be independent, and that's all right. Because what your parents do is going to affect you. And what they've done is going to affect you. It's your choice how it's going to affect you. Think about that one. Your past could either be an excuse or a reason. Your choice, not your parents. So am I going to use a contingency table in this sum? No. I'm not checking for independence. I'm not checking about two different choices. I can choose a pole or not. That's not what this is about. How do I know I've got to use a tree diagram? Because you guys are almost there. A tree diagram is whenever you've got multiple events, please be careful, that follow on each other. Complementary doesn't matter. Independence doesn't matter. Whenever you've got an event, and then after that event, another event happens, and then maybe another event happens, we use tree diagrams. Even in third year, AXI, when you are studying the mechanics behind the making money on the stock market, you use tree diagrams. Yes, sir.
So, like the following event, does not rely on the previous one?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It could, but it doesn't have to. If it doesn't, it's just called independent events. Whatever it is the outcome of the first one is going to have no effect on the second one. That's all right. But tree diagrams is used in real life to look at all the different options that are possible. For actuaries, what they literally do is they go, okay, if the market goes up, it's called hedging, hedge funds. If the markets go up, we are going to buy this kind of thing. If the market goes down, I'm going to buy this kind of thing. Now they look at, okay, what is the probability of the market going up? What's the probability of the market going down? So how much of this thing must I buy and how much of that thing must I buy? That is what hedge fund managers do, and they make billions. That's all they do. They do the market research because that's complicated maths. I love it. I sometimes miss AXI. Okay, and yes, I studied AXI. Okay, I finished AXI as well, at least the degree part. Then I realized I'm not one for sitting in an office for 10 hours a day. I love people too much. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, again, be careful of autopilot. Oh, I've seen a million of these kind of sums. Think about which one am I going to use and choose. So in this one, yes, what you guys are talking about, I love, is complementary events. So were you guys all right with the tree diagram? Is there anybody that would love me to teach you through the tree diagram with this one or not? Yes, please. Okay, I'll gladly do it. Okay. So let's again ask ourselves, what's the first event? What is the first thing that happens? You can either take a headache pill. Okay, so there's my first event. So identify your events. Okay, so there is event 1. And be careful of thinking that there always must be only 2 possibilities. It could be a headache pill, sugar pill, and a Panado. I don't know. Okay, there could be more than one event. We just usually use 2 to make life easy for you. Then, what is the second event that they're talking about? Being cured or not? So this is then event 2. So, when I choose my tree diagram, and then I'm just going to go there, right to the end. So my first set is going to be about event 1. I'm going to have a headache pill, and I'm going to have a sugar pill. Now, please, and I love what my gent was talking about there on the right, complementary events. What are complementary events? What are complementary events? It is events, yes. Exhaustive. Oh, I love this. Big words. You're like, ooh. Okay, exhaustive. Be careful. Okay, I love. She's also throwing in mutually exclusive. Some of you are like, oh, big words. Exhaustive means what? In other words, their probabilities add up to 1. So there's nothing else outside of it. And I love that you also use the word mutually exclusive, which means what? They can't occur at the same time. Okay, so the probability of them happening at the same time is 0. You can't take a headache pill and a sugar pill. So why is that important? Because they actually only have to give you one of these. Because automatically the second one is also going to be 50%. They didn't have to give you that probability. And if you look back at the question, that is what you need with a second leg. Because what's going to happen now, okay, what's going to happen now, I'm just trying to find that one again. Okay, where did I put that? Sorry. Just trying to find it. Okay, this thing keeps on disappearing. Okay. Don't understand technology, but that's all right. So I've got headache and I've got sugar. If I've got a headache pill, now again, imagine yourself, you actually got a headache pill now. So you're that guy. Now you've got to ask yourself, what are the probabilities? What can happen once you take it? I can either be cured or not cured. Hashtag that's how we write not. That little apostrophe means not cured. So this is 50-50. Now a challenge or a little tip, Tiama, I'm going to give you guys. The moment that you read something like 2 out of 5, automatically get the compliment. What is the complement of 2 out of 5? 3 out of 5. If it's 3 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Automatically, because they won't give it to you. Now, it will feel like you've got enough info. Because now I'm saying, I got a headache pill, being cured is 3 out of 5. Okay? Not cured, 2 out of 5. Am I right? Sorry, cured. Oh, not cured is 2 out of 5, so yes, 2 out of 5. Cured is 3 out of 5. With sugar, same thing there. Now we're cured is 3 out of 10. Not cured, 7 out of 10. Okay? Everyone all right with my tree diagram? Now I'm going to ask you a silly little question. Are these events independent? In other words, is it dependent? Are these two events independent? Meaning, the outcome of the second one is not influenced by the choice of the pill. Okay, so now we're talking about independence or not. The quick answer is yes or no. What is it? They're not. But please again, be careful. Be careful. Are they dependent? No. Whoa. You can't answer that question. You can only answer whether it's independent or not. Be careful of the fine little line. You cannot say it is dependent, just like you can't prove an hypothesis in science. You can only disprove a hypothesis or not. Because the problem is, the moment I say my hypothesis is correct. Whoa, 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 whoa. That means you've done research in all of the ways that this thing could happen, and it's definitely going to hold true. That's why you will never disprove a hypothesis. You will go, either this hypothesis I made is rubbish, or not, it could be true. In reality, what then actually happens is you go and do further research. Interesting. So, here comes a very important thing, and I'm going to move on from this one. There's two words in probability you've got to look out for. And, or. Een, of. Sorry for the Afrikanertjies there. I haven't been translating for you guys, but I hope that you can do that translation yourself. And, or. Now, I'm not talking about the word being written and or. I'm talking about in your mind when you go, the probability of this and this happen. Like here. If I walk this road, what is the probability of me ending up there? I walk here and there. The moment you think about the word and, multiply. The moment you think about the word or, I want you to think about adding. So if we look at the second question, what does the second question ask us? Determine the probability that a person chosen at random from the group will not be cured. What are my options? I can take a headache pill and not cured, or plus. So I can go probability of a headache pill and not cured, or probability of a sugar pill and not cured. So the moment you hear the word or you think of the word or in any probability sum, there's more than one option. Okay, then add them. Add the probabilities. So what is the probability of them getting a headache and not being cured? 50% times by? What's the probability of them getting a sugar pill and not being cured? 50% times by? And then what must I just do with those answers? Add them up. Okay. So I'm going to go and do it here on the right. So it's 50% times by 2 out of 5 plus 50% times by 7 out of 10. And please, ladies, the gents won't do it. Please don't write me more steps than just the answer. The gents are too lazy, okay? Please don't go, this is equal to 1 out of 5 plus this is equal to 7 out of 20. This is 11 out of 20. please, ladies and gentlemen, okay, please, ladies, don't write that step for me. There's only two types of people that finish a matric exam. The guy who knows everything and the guy who knows nothing. Those are the only two people that finish a matric exam. So you've got to learn, when can I maybe just go skip a step and move on? Like I would just literally write this down, answer. Okay? But won't they give marks? No, they won't. You're not in grade 8. Grade 8, they'll go, okay. Write all the steps down. But ladies and gentlemen, and here is another important little thing. I'm dropping some gold nuggets for you guys today. Another lack of gold nugget is, and please remember this, 50% of your exam is about writing down what you know. The other 50% is making sure the examiner knows what you're writing down. If they can't understand what you are doing, they can't mark it right. So if you are a person that loves to think out of the box, you will get marked down. Unless you learn to express yourself proper. I had a guy, my friend there at the back, about 10 years ago. I'm not going to, because we're recording, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but he'll know who I'm talking about. He was a weird son of a gun. Did a 40K walk one year in the bushes, up mountains and everything in jeans and the worst tackies that I've ever seen, without complaining just a little bit. Okay? But he never got above 85% for maths. And he was a phenomenal mathematician. But even where I on my memo would do something in 8 steps, he'd do it in 3 or 4 steps. But his answer would be a little bit off from mine. I would have no cooking clue how the hell he got to that answer because I don't know what he's thinking. So what did he start doing? He started writing essays. Literally essays in his matric. I was thinking about this. And then I did this. And then because of this, I did the following. He got 93 or 94% in matric. Because all of a sudden, as a marker, I could now follow his logic, and maybe just his last step was a little bit off from mine. Oh no, it's all right, you get 7 out of 8. Instead of giving him 3 or 4. Because I had no cooking clue what he was writing down. So I'm imploring you, stop being so independent and being so entitled. They have to look at me and try to understand no. The reality is, if you are in a government school, that person marking your matric final paper will sit in that morning from 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. They'll have 3,000 or 4,000 scripts to mark in a week or 2. If they don't get what you are saying, you will not get the marks. At varsity, it's even worse. Professors don't care about you. Use one word wrong, and they stop marking. Because it changes the whole rest of the sum. I've experienced that, yeah. So you have to learn. It's not about I am the one that they've got to try and get marks for. No, I've got to try and get the marks. Change the way you think about it. If you are unsure about a sum, or you're trying to think differently, write it for the examiner, like I'm writing it out here. If you just write this answer and you write 13 out of 20, how do I know where the hell that comes from?